Hey guys, today we're going to be discussing one of my favorite comic books of all time, Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine. It's nothing too famous or anything, but I personally just love it out of pure entertainment. This is canon to the overall mainstream Marvel 616 universe, but it's nothing too major in continuity. Before we start talking about the story, I just want to say how much I love all the references to some of the early 2000 X-Men movies and Spider-Man movies. This comic was published back in 2005, so it makes sense why they would reference some of those movies since they're such big successes. But yeah, basically the overall gist of this story is that Spider-Man and Wolverine are stuck throughout time together, and it's basically just a fun adventure they have to go through to try to get back to their original timeline without messing anything up from the past or future. Now, probably my favorite thing about this story is how the relationship between Peter and Logan is throughout the entirety of the story, mainly because these two are my two favorite characters in Marvel, and also my favorite duo. This series will be split up into 3 parts, covering 2 issues each part. So obviously in this part, I'd be doing issues 1 and 2. But with that out of the way, let's begin Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine. We open up with panels aiming towards the stars, and we zoom out showing that it's Peter looking through some telescope that looks like it was made out of bamboo sticks and some sort of glass. Peter looks tired, older, and has overgrown hair. His suit also seems to have been torn to shreds, leaving only bits of his mask and gloves. Peter talks about how the stars keep him calm, and how he is now the smartest man on the face of the earth, and how tomorrow he'll be dead. Peter is stuck in prehistoric times, millions of years in the past. Peter talks about how he would never have guessed this is the way he'd go out. Rather something like Dr. Doom or Green Goblin killing or defeating him. He begins to think of what people in his time are thinking right now. What happened to Spider-Man is how he thinks it would go down. Peter wishes he could have done so much more, so many things he could have changed in his past battles, and so many quips he hasn't used yet. He walks outside gazing upon this wooden carving of a woman that he made. He talks about how he keeps seeing this beautiful woman in his dreams every night. He believes he'll die without even knowing her, or how he even ended up here. He'll die alone, he says. No, not alone. Peter thinks about how he's going to be killed by him. Peter says how he'd cut his head off if he ever returned to the valley again. The Valley of Fire, that's what he calls it. I hear the fighting from miles away. The battle cries are bone-chilling yet somehow still comforting. Peter states they are the first voices he's heard in weeks. We cut to a raging battle where cavemen, at least I think they're cavemen, are fighting one another, hoping to steal women and children and hunt for meat. It seemed that Wolverine and his army of cavemen won, and Wolverine is referred to as Six Claws. Soon after, one of Wolverine's men says that the Spider God comes. It's Peter. Peter talks to Logan, saying how Logan hasn't taken any of his advice about altering the present. Peter gives him an example of how if they were to step on a butterfly, that they could go back and Dr. Doom would be president. Logan tells Peter how they are never going home and how Peter should make peace with that. He tells him to go back to his bugs and statue. Peter tells Logan how they are living in the moment where the asteroids wiped out the dinosaurs and how they are at ground zero. Peter proceeds to leave. Moments later, Logan is saying how even Bruce Banner at his worst would be better than this. But no, instead he's stuck with Peter Parker. We see how Peter is thinking the exact same thing. Why did it have to be Logan? If it were Tony or Reed, they would have built a time machine out of bamboo and palm fronds by now. Instead, Peter will die here. Peter thinks to himself, why is he here? And how the hell did all of this happen? We cut to earlier and we see Peter swinging around the city doing his average things throughout the day as Spider-Man, greeting citizens, cracking jokes, and stopping muggers. We then see that Wolverine is about to stop a thug, but before Wolverine does anything, the thug tells him that he led Wolverine here so that he could be in a big movie with his boss. We then cut to the Marvel villain, The Orb, who seems to be robbing a bank. One of the Orb's henchmen finds a bag of glowing diamonds. Seconds later, Spider-Man comes swinging in, kicking the henchman with the diamonds. Wolverine is there too. Spider-Man and Wolverine look at each other, both saying, "Oh God, not you." When the diamonds fell out of the henchman's hands, it transported Spider-Man and Wolverine to an unknown place. Spider-Man asks how they ended up in the Savage Land, and Wolverine says that this isn't the Savage Land. We cut back to Peter in prehistoric times, and we see him burning all the evidence that he was there at all. As he is destroying everything, he remembers the girl that's always in his dreams. Wolverine lets his army enjoy their victory from the battle earlier before they die from the asteroids. He states that he shouldn't have been so hard on Peter. Peter gets up and says that he isn't going to give up yet and that there has to be a way. Logan wants to go out fighting instead of not doing anything at all. As the asteroid is coming towards Earth, everything shines bright and Peter wakes up next to Logan back in the present. But something is wrong. Logan tells Peter that maybe he was right about the whole altering the past thing, because it seems that the original timeline that they knew is not what they remember. We open up with Spider-Man teaching a class filled with mutated apes who are basically us in this timeline thanks to Wolverine messing it up in the past. Spider-Man thinks to himself as he is teaching that he wishes he never got bit by the spider because of how much has happened in his life. Stuff like this. Spider-Man greets us with, "Welcome to the end of the world." Spider-Man meets up with one of his students, and it's seen that both are working and figuring out how to work the cosmic cube. Spider-Man tells him that if it fell from the skies, and it could pretty much do anything once they get it working. As both are working, an alarm can be heard, and Spider-Man rushes over swinging in the city, remembering how he used to swinging his time. We cut to Wolverine, who begins to fight these droid things. Spider-Man shows up after the fight, and Wolverine asks him if he's found a weapon yet to help prevent the end of the world. Spider-Man begins to jokingly tell him no, and how he suddenly cares about the situation. Spider-Man tells Wolverine how these people worship Wolverine, and he should care more about them and not just himself. Then they are jumped by more droids and begin to fight. After the fight's over, Peter and Logan go their separate ways because Logan just isn't listening and Peter still wants to try to save the world. Spider-Man swings back to his lab and thinks about just wanting to end Wolverine for good. Spider-Man believes he's being watched by someone throughout all this, and he says that he still dreams about that girl and how he's only doing all this for a chance to see that girl in real life. Peter is then shot at by a laser. It's the orb, but he's a lot different now and more deadly than before. He starts shouting at Spider-Man to tell him where the diamonds are and how he's been through hell just warping in time. He says something about these people called the Minutemen, but before anything else happens, a portal opens grabbing the orb and Spider-Man just misses the portal. Spider-Man receives an emergency call with people telling him that they found something. Spider-Man goes into the mines with these miners and they tell Spider-Man that they found a glowing box. Peter looks at it and it's the Phoenix Force. Spider-Man brings the box back to his lab and states that this will save Earth, but someone has to die. As Spider-Man is swinging in the city, his spider sense goes ballistic. As Spider-Man looks up, he sees that the thing that's going to end the world is here. Okay, so basically Spider-Man explains that this is a being called the Doom Planet. He says Dr. Doom in this timeline transferred his consciousness into Ego the Living Planet. I'm being so serious. As the world is casually ending, Spider-Man kinda just casually strolls along and watches the world burn. Sometime later, Spider-Man is back in his lab and he opens the box to find a gun with the Phoenix Force that is somehow being contained in a bullet. God, I love comics. Spider-Man claims that shooting this bullet at the Doom Planet will destroy it. However, it will also kill the person that fires it. Spider-Man accepts it. He accepts that he has to be the one that does it. He's the one that's going to sacrifice. Yeah, Wolverine comes out of nowhere and backhands Peter, knocking him out. He'll be the one that's doing this. And hey, he's back in his yellow and blue costume. As Wolverine is walking out, we see that these two men are watching both Logan and Peter. They also have those diamonds that's causing all this nonsense to happen. One of the men has a bat with the diamonds on it, and pretty much says that he's going to kill both Peter and Logan. And that concludes part 1 and 2 of this story. Stuff is about to get wild in the next couple issues. Part 2 will be released soon. I'm going to try to get it out as soon as I can. I hope you enjoyed watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next part.